what's good? Welcome back to episode 2 of the Hip Hop Dissolve podcast, man. If you haven't listened to episode 1, just go ahead and download that real quick. Get that. If you are listening on Apple Podcasts, you need to go ahead and give us a 5 stars, man. If you're on YouTube, hit the like button, comment already. You're here. Comment some bullshit. Comment how much you hate me or something. It doesn't matter. And, but it's the boy T-Stomp, and I'm joined by the GOAT himself, Martian. What's up?
What's up?
So Hip Hop Dissolved episode 2, of course, we got a couple topics we want to dive into, and the first is the major flop from the rainbow hair kid 6ix9ine.
Woo. Now I can't say I saw this coming. Like last episode we talked about it, and the predictions at that point were like 150 first week or whatever. So it looked like he was gonna outsell Big Sean. He was gonna get his number 1, blah blah blah. But honestly, from the bottom of my heart, I can say that hip hop prevailed this week.
Hip hop did prevail, right. But let's be honest. We didn't expect it to do 150 because it was a hot album. We thought, all right, there's going to be a heap of merch bundles. He's going to put some fake streams. You know what I mean? That type of thing.
I mean, not just that, but also he did seem like he had hype, right? But we'll break all that down.
Yeah, so, all right, let's be honest. Why did this flop? What do you think?
Honestly, bro, like, if you look at the singles, right? So he dropped 4 singles before the album. He dropped Gooba, he dropped Trolls, he did Yaya, and he dropped Punani, right? Those were the 4 singles for the album.
Yeah.
Right? So Gooba went number 3 on Billboard, right? It was the music video was hot. It had a lot of streams. Trolls went number 1. Then Yaya, which was a Spanish song, it also had a music video. It went number 99. People kind of wrote it off as, it's just a Spanish song. It doesn't count. Okay, cool. Punani came out. It didn't even chart on Billboard Hot 100. Nope. Right? And honestly, it seems like the first 2 singles is like everyone's like, okay, this guy's out of jail. What kind of music is he putting out? Blah, blah, blah. Which happens whenever anyone comes out of jail. Like when Gucci Mane came out of jail, there was a lot of hype around it. And then it died down after that first album that he put out, right?
Mm-hmm.
Same with Boosie when he came out of jail. Like whenever someone comes out of jail, there's a lot of hype behind it, right?
Mm-hmm.
But after those 2 songs, the other 2 songs did underperform compared. Mm-hmm. And even looking closer at those 2 songs, like both songs, Gooba and Trolls, have a lot of YouTube views, right? Mm-hmm. We got to keep in mind, YouTube is global. Billboard is Hot 100 is US only.
Correct.
Right? And a lot, from what I'm hearing, he has a lot of people out in Europe that stream his music or whatever. But honestly, like as far as hip hop is concerned, your US fan base is your fan base.
Correct.
Right? That's just how it is. Like, and I'm saying that as someone that's outside the US. I'm in Canada, right? But I understand that the rappers are catering to the US. So it's cool you have European fans. That doesn't count for your Billboard. That doesn't count for your sales, any of that stuff, right? And looking at Trolls specifically, it went number 1 on Billboard, but it also set the record for the quickest fall from number 1. It fell off from number 1 to not on the charts within 4 weeks, right?
Correct.
So that shows that, like, yeah, it had a lot of hype coming out of jail, but the hype died down quick. And they like to say, 6ix9ine's people or whatever, they like to say, or fan base, sorry, they like to say, he didn't have radio play, that's why it fell so quick. Well, look, Lil Wayne dropped Carter 5 in 2018, and he had a song on there called Mona Lisa, which actually went to number 2 with no radio play. It was neck and neck with Cardi B's single, which ended up getting the number 1. And even though it went to number 2, it stayed on that chart for 10 weeks, as far as I remember. Right? So it, even without radio play, you're able to maintain for at least 2 months. This guy fell off in 1 month. Like, it didn't have any legs to begin with, those singles, right?
Mm-hmm.
And then this album comes out, and he's doing the most. He's dissing Dirk, TJ, Blueface, Trippie Redd. Like, he's calling everybody out, dissing everybody's sales, acting like he's gonna sell so much with this album. He drops it, but the hype from him being out of jail has already started to die down, as we saw from the last 2 singles flopping, Trolls falling off the charts, all this other stuff. The first predictions actually seem pretty high, 150, right?
Mm-hmm.
And throughout the week, the predictions started changing. It dropped down to 35 to 45 at one point. That was the lowest the predictions were. The very last prediction was 55 to 65, and the final numbers are somewhere between 55 and 56. I'm seeing a little bit of discrepancy in that. Some sites are saying 55K, some are saying 56K. End of the story, it's a lot lower than 100, right? And I see them talking a lot about, oh, well, he did 29 physical, and the merch didn't count. No radio, no playlisting. Well, let me break this down for you. So the way album sales are calculated, there's 3 different things, okay? There's streaming, there's track equivalencies, and then there's album sales, right?
Mm-hmm.
Streaming is Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, whatever you use, right? And for Billboard, for their calculations, it's 1250 streams from a paid service count as one album sale, and 3750 from a free service count as one album sale. So as a free service, I mean like US YouTube views, US Spotify free, like those are free, right? So 3750 of the free streams count as one album sale, and 1250 of the paid streams count as an album sale. So that's how the units are calculated. Okay. Then there's also track equivalencies, which are, honestly, they don't really play a big part in weekly album sales, but there are some track equivalencies. And basically, if an album has, let's say, it doesn't matter how many tracks the album has, it could have 7 tracks, it could have 23 tracks. If 10 singles are purchased, like single songs from the album, it'll count as one album sale, right? And the last one is physical. So when they say physical, they don't literally mean a physical CD, right? They mean a full purchase of the album. The purchase can be digital, it could be physical, or it could be a merch bundle.
Correct.
This is where the merch bundles come in. If you buy a merch bundle and it comes with a digital copy of the album or a physical copy of the album, that automatically counts as a physical sale, right? So for them to say 6ix9ine had no merch bundles included, right? But then you look at the numbers, there's 29K physicals in there, which is mostly, physicals nowadays are mostly merch bundles, right? That doesn't make sense. There is merch in there. So merch did count. Academics initially said that, but when he made the final post, like earlier in the week, but when he made the final post about the sales, he blamed no radio play and no playlisting. He said nothing about merch because the merch was counted in the numbers, right?
Correct. Yeah.
And to even put it in further perspective, Drake dropped his Dark Lane demo tapes mixtape. Granted, it's just a mixtape, but it's fucking Drake, right?
Yeah.
And he dropped that in, I think, May of this year. And that did 223K total, but only 19K from physical, right?
Correct.
And that was a no merch, right? If you're saying, I'm not Trippy, sorry. 6ix9ine did 29K in physicals. You really think 6ix9ine is gonna sell more physicals than Drake? I know, like, Drake dropped a mixtape, but it's Drake. Correct. Without merch, like, there's definitely merch included in that number, right? And you can even, like, academics cops please all the time for 6ix9ine, but he didn't even bring up the merch at the very end because he knows that wasn't part of it.
Yeah.
The next thing they blamed was no radio. Radio does not count for album sales. It counts only for Billboard's Hot 100.
Okay,
right?
but wait, let me just say really quick. I agree with you. Obviously, that's true. I think the point people were trying to get at with the radio is that, you know, normally if you drop a song, for example, technically you have a song like Mona Lisa, right?
Yeah.
Yes, the numbers for radio don't come in till Tuesday, but it's still playing throughout that week, so that's, you know, actively promoting the album. And I think what they're trying to say with 6ix9ine is, yes, it doesn't count, but that would have been a lot of promotion if it was on radio. But
that's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, no, but even then, it's just like, how much do you think the radio was really gonna do? And that's before I start hammering on my thoughts. But I just wanted to bring that up. But go on.
Yeah, and that's fair. But the radio would only play the 4 singles which he had, right? And that radio play brings promotion. I understand that. But it does not count for any sort of sales. It only counts for Billboard Hot 100, the singles charts, chart positions. It does not count for any sort of sales for albums or singles.
Yeah.
Right? And the last thing they said is no playlisting. And that, honestly, is such a cop-out, in my opinion. Because we live in a digital era. If you go on any of the rap pages the past week, 6ix9ine was everywhere.
Exactly.
If you're going to listen, like, it's not like they weren't. Like, if you search 6ix9ine on Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal, the album pops up, right? it's not like they were making it so it wouldn't pop up, right? Like, I get it. Okay, some playlisting would have helped, but at the end of the day, bro, if you go on Spotify and you search for him, you're gonna find him. And we're in a media era where 6ix9ine is everywhere on all these pages. If you really wanted to hear the album, you heard it that week.
Exactly.
Right? And it's just 55K people were the only ones that wanted to hear it, apparently.
Yeah.
And let me just say this. Dirk, May 2020, before the Drake feature, nothing, he did 57K overall. Right? Mm-hmm. Trippie Redd in November 2019, he did 104K with Love Letter to You 4. Right? And those are the people you were dissing. He was saying, oh, they don't sell well. And now he's changing goalposts and talking about physicals and shit. Like, oh, I said 29K physicals.
Yeah. So it's just desperate at this point.
Yeah, it's desperate at this point because no one looks at only physical. If you want to look at only physicals, Drake's not even selling. Drake did 19K physical this year. You know what I mean? But his album's almost at 900K right now overall because streaming and physical is what's calculated now. Like the RIAA put out their daily report, their yearly reports earlier this week, right? Mm-hmm. And at this point in 2020, vinyl sales are up compared to physical sales. Yeah. Like CD sales, right? And streaming makes up for more than 75% of the way people consume their music.
Correct.
Right? So like that makes like the complete number is what you got to look at, not just physicals or just streams or just this or just that. It's just a complete number.
Yeah. Just before we hop in on the physical conversation because that is a very good point that you brought up. It's just when it comes to 6ix9ine's flopping, you know, I agree with all your points, and I know we always want to. I feel like in hip hop, whenever we see an artist flops, we always want to, you know, make a nice little chart that, you know, maybe a Google programmer might make to describe why the artist completely flopped. You know what I mean? The honest truth about 6ix9ine's album is 6ix9ine had all the momentum in the world, okay? And here's another thing. We talk about he didn't have playlisting, he didn't have radio. Yes, that could have hurt him a bit, but in my true opinion, the most important sources for promoting your album, right, in my opinion, will always be, in the current day, is on Instagram, the academics, rap, Say Cheese, Our Generation Music. If those four cover your album, that's enough promotion in my opinion. You know what I mean? Those are the real tastemakers. People, I feel like most rap listeners today will say they find out from Instagram and Twitter that an album's coming out. 6ix9ine had the promotion on all of those pages because all of those pages were nonstop talking about 6ix9ine. And arguably the most important one with academics gave him all the promotion in the world. It wasn't a case of promotion. 6ix9ine had momentum. I'm not sure if you listened to the album, but if you actually did listen to the album, you'd very quickly realize this album was horrible. Okay? And truth be told, with the DJing and kind of what I want to do, it kind of forces you to, you know, look at music for what it is. I'm going to be honest. There are very few artists that I look at that I think, oh my gosh, this person is absolutely trash. You know what I mean? Most of the time I kind of see it as, okay, this guy's good for a couple club songs. Oh, this guy's good for some street shit. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. But 6ix9ine's album was awful. The only good song on this album was Locked Up 2. And keep in mind, it wasn't even as good as the OG Locked Up. All right?
And the original's a classic.
Exactly.
Just throwing that out there.
He's basically taking a classic song, not even really remixing it. Because I saw people go at Tory Lanez. You know what I mean? And they say, don't get me wrong, I don't think, this has nothing to do with my morals. I don't like Tory Lanez. But just for the sake of example, you know, people always say, well, Tory Lanez, you know, he gets so much praise on Chicks Tape, he's just remixing hits. If you actually listen to the OGs, you know, the OG records that Tory Lanez is doing, they're very different. For example, I think one of Tory remixes that went crazy was a song called Love, right? If you actually listen to the original, Everybody Falls in Love by Tanto, Metro, and Devontae, yes, the hook is the same, but you can tell Tory Lanez put in a lot of work to switch that song up and make it different. So that is a skill in and of itself. But no, 6ix9ine's album is awful. And people kind of forget, it's like sometimes it flops because the quality is bad. Look at Chance the Rapper's, you know, The Big Day. I think if you told somebody, oh yeah, Chance is dropping an album, You would project. Oh, it'll probably do around, I would say 350, right? But
350 for Chance the Rapper.
You don't think you would do 350? What is he, 300?
I don't know. I don't know. I think he did what he was supposed to do. I think he sold like 100 and something, right? I don't think.
No.
He sold 108 with Big Day.
Yeah, but I'm saying Chance should be moving 250.
You think so?
Oh yeah.
I don't know.
But regardless, I think that was a big reason why Chance flopped, because the album was so bad that most people couldn't even finish it. You know what I mean? So yeah, 6ix9ine's music was terrible. And when we talk about the post-prison hype, right? Yes, the post-prison hype, it dies down inevitably, obviously.
And it dies down quick too.
But that's what I was gonna say. But it doesn't have to. If you deliver, the momentum keeps going. 6ix9ine did not deliver, because I'm gonna compare him to Gucci Mane. But first, okay, we got Gooba. This is the same 6ix9ine song we've heard 1,000,001 times. We all know it. We've all heard 6ix9ine over a beat shouting. You know what I mean? It was okay. Trolls, I thought was bad. Yaya was, you could pull the Spanish songs excuse and claim, you know, maybe I don't know too much about Spanish music. I didn't think the song was crazy. Punani was horrible. Okay. So that killed it but the thing with Gucci Mane, right? Gucci Mane, he carried that hype out for a while. You know what I mean? Because first off, he had Everybody's Looking, great album, and I think it did good numbers. Did over 100, I'm pretty sure.
Everybody's Looking. I'll look that up right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, Everybody's Looking did very, very well.
It did 68. It did 68. But honestly, for Gucci Mane, like 68 is decent, because Gucci was never really selling records. He was more of a mixtape rapper.
Oh damn. But anyway, my point still stands with this, right? So Everybody's Looking did 68, right? But Gucci Mane then did another album with Mr. Davis, which sold like 64. You know what I mean? And and keep in mind this. Another thing about you got to keep in mind is this is Gucci Mane's first time really being a commercial artist. Before, for I want to say 8 years, Gucci Mane was a street mixtape rapper. Not
like he
commercial.
Had a couple singles, like he had Wasted Lemonade and like Icy way back, but like he was never like commercial.
Exactly.
Right? He just
But keep in mind even though the albums didn't sell crazy, they sold well. They weren't selling crazy. He was having hit after hit after hit. You know, he had the song with Drake, both.
And you got to look at it relatively too. Like Gucci Mane sold well relative to his previous album, right?
Exactly.
His previous albums and stuff. But
Gucci Mane
6ix9ine's kind of stagnant, because like his previous album, I get it dropped on a half week, right? It only had a half week of sales, but it did 66K. Right? I think it was 66, something like that. And then he's just going down from there. You know what I mean? Whereas his peers, I guess, like Trippie, he's going up in sales. Dirk has been organically going up in sales. Like everyone else is going up, but 6ix9ine staying stagnant and just dropping.
But what I'm saying is 6ix9ine did the most, and his hype, I'm gonna say at most lasted 2 months. Gucci Mane kept that shit going for 2 years. You know, he managed to keep it going for, I want to say he really had that momentum from Everybody's Looking to when Wake Up in the Sky came out. And that was like 2-3 years. You know what I mean? So he rode that shit. 6ix9ine killed it in 3 months in 2 months with terrible music. You know what I mean? I don't really think people are really. I think it's 6ix9ine's time. You know, it's up, man, because. Did he need the streets to rock with him? No, because he could have had the random white frat kids. You know what I mean? That's why he went on Nelk, because he knows those are the people that he needs to rock with him.
And those are the ones that are gonna approve of the shit he did too.
Exactly.
I think he was on
They're gonna buy into his.
Yeah. Like he was on the Logan Paul. I think
exactly.
The Brothers podcast, and he was asking them if what he did was wrong. Right.
You think 6ix9ine's gonna go talk to Charlemagne at this point? No.
Yeah.
He gonna go talk to Adam?
I mean, to be fair, I feel like Charlemagne, out of all people, might co-sign it, but like in general, like he's not gonna go on any other fucking podcast. And
I don't think Charlemagne's gonna co-sign it. Maybe no, because when Charlemagne was on Andrew Schultz, Charlemagne was saying like. Because I think Andrew was trying to like kind of co-sign it, but I remember Charlemagne was like, "Man, you sound like someone that doesn't think they should take responsibility for their actions." And so I don't think Charlemagne would have cool. Maybe Charlemagne would have been a little soft with like trying to strangle his neck. You know what I mean? It probably, but
I feel like I've heard Charlemagne like condone snitching before, but like I don't know. Maybe I'm wrong.
But anyway,
yeah.
But that's why you had to go to the Nelk and the Logan Paul show.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Because those are the only quote unquote fans he has left.
Exactly, but he pissed those people off when he dropped a terrible album. So he really just he ruined his shit, and he can talk about the physicals, which I think we all have reason to believe that he might have bought them himself. You know what I mean? It's just if you were dumb if you didn't see this coming. No offense.
Yeah. I'm gonna be honest. Like, you can go listen to the last podcast. I was talking about 6ix9ine doing 150. I mean,
no. But in theory,
I'll be honest. Like,
in theory, he did do 150. In theory, he did do 150 because I will admit, Billboard switching the rules was very sketchy.
Nah, he did. They didn't switch the rules, man. That was a lie. That did not happen. No rules got switched, right? Academics try to.
But no. But weren't those rules supposed to go in effect in October?
No, those merch doesn't count starting October 8th, right? He had merch sales. That 29 physical includes merch sales.
Oh, okay. So what was the drop off? What was the rule change that made him drop 100K?
There wasn't any sort of rule change. There was no rule change at all that happened recently. There was one rule change, but I don't think that's really going to affect him. It went into play August 7th, where physical, and they announced it in July, so artists knew ahead of time. If you sell a physical on its own, a physical album, not a merch, but just a physical album, like a CD, vinyl, cassette, and it doesn't ship the same week, it won't count as first week sales, right? But honestly, I don't think enough people are buying physical, like, albums alone for it to make 100K difference. Merch is what people are buying, right?
Yeah.
And that still counts till the 8th. There was nothing Billboard did that changed the projections, right? Even in the very latest post, like at the beginning, Academics was kind of trying to blame Billboard, but at the end, he said it was radio and no playlisting, right? Yeah. Because he can't blame Billboard. What I've heard, I have no confirmation about this, is that 6ix9ine was hoarding sales from the Gooba and Trolls, and he didn't ship any of that stuff, like merch sales for the singles. Like, it was single songs, not albums, single songs. He was hoarding those sales and waiting till the last week, the first week of the album, to ship it, and then claim them as album sales.
Oh, man, so he tried to get really sneaky.
But listen, a single song is not an album.
Correct.
Right? One song is not an album. And I heard Billboard just threw it out, which they're right to do. It's a fucking single, right?
Yeah.
And again, I have no 100% source on this. It's just something I've heard. But if you go on Twitter, you can see that a lot of people that ordered the singles merch are getting their merch now, right? Because they're shipping it now, thinking that, it'll count as album sales. But that's not how it works, right?
Well, moral of the story, Big Sean, you're my hero. I love you, Big Sean.
And
Big Sean, I also, done.
And speaking of Sean, I think his album did what, 111?
Correct.
111. Okay, like, I feel like, and it was a very solid album, great album, and I feel like 111 is decent numbers for Sean. I think his last solo, which was 2017, did 150. He did a collab with Metro that did 50. Right? Granted, it's just a collab tape, so I can't really say that's flop.
Yeah, but part of that was the tape was very bad.
Yeah. But in comparison, I think this album was really good, and I think the sales are decent. There's, especially for someone like Big Sean, over 100. Like, in this climate, man, over 100. Like, unless you're like superstar is good, you know. And the superstars are only doing 200 plus, right?
Yeah.
Like, Uzi did 288, Drake did 223, Pop Smoke did 250, M did 270. Like, 200 is the elite, right? Anything over 100, though, you're solid. You're good. You're great, bro. Shout out Big Sean. Happy for him. Nice to see him back in the game. I honestly think Big Sean's album is the top 10 album of the decade so far. I mean, of the year.
Oh, I was about to say. I was like, it wasn't
the
that
decade
great.
Just started, so technically it is. But.
I thought the album was very good. I will say I was a little, I guess you say, nervous for Big Sean's sales because I had just felt like, so when you do the whole big gap, method where you do an album every 3, right? You know what, like what Kendrick does, and what Chance did. But the thing is that it's a good strategy, but it's risky. You know what I mean? You can build a lot of hype with that album. You know what I mean? But if that album disappoints, you know what I mean? Because let's be honest, if the big day was fire, Chance would be a legend. Be honest.
Yeah.
Chance, but that's the thing. But Chance disappointed, and I felt like that set Chance's career back a lot. And so I was like, I hope Big Sean delivers, because not only has it been 3 years, the last time he dropped, I want to say 95% of hip hop wrote that mixtape off as really bad. And especially because it was kind of like, it was a collab tape with Metro, who was a big name producer, and generally when Metro and Big Sean worked together was good. I think they had a couple joints together, like Bounce Back, you know what I mean? That was, of course, a hit, you know what I mean? So when that album just completely flopped, that a lot of people were very disappointed with it. But yeah, I'm glad the album did good, and I'm glad to see Sean is still delivering in 2020. He had a lot of people doubting him. He did it.
And honestly, like, I know we said this on the last week's podcast as well, but when you drop in like with such a big gap, like, it's either you do really good or you flop. You know what I mean? And I feel like Sean got in that in between state, which is really good. You know, it's a solid album. I can't wait to see what he does next.
Exactly. And I think one thing, people always expect, you know, a club song from Sean. I don't think we really get, maybe Lithuania was kind of that, you know what I mean? But people always want to bounce back, dance, ass, my life. I mean, my last, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I don't think we really got that around, but
but you don't always need the club record. Like, it's nice to see an artist present a good body of work, you know what I mean?
Yeah. But yeah, Big Sean, you delivered, man. You are hip hop's hero, Big Sean. We are giving you the crown. You are the hero of hip hop. You defeated the evil 6ix9ine. I consider you Gohan, and 6ix9ine is like Cell. Big Sean was a spirit bomb taking out Boo. This is for all the Dragon Ball Z fan listeners. But yeah, I think one thing we could really, you know, dive into between talking about sales is, what are physicals nowadays? You know what I mean?
And I touched on that earlier when we were talking about 6ix9ine. I broke it all down. I mean, do you want to talk about it again? I broke it out and everything.
Well, I was just gonna say, you know, why? Yeah. I mean, in terms of why, I think you mentioned that vinyl sales are selling more than the CDs. Yeah.
But I feel like the most physical sales are merch sales. Like, that's the majority of it. But CDs are down bad right now.
Yeah, but I was just trying to say, the point, the thing about CDs is that, because I always like to talk about one, like, music business type thing every episode, you know what I mean? The thing about CDs is that CDs have really no purpose other than to be junk. You know what I mean? You're not going to prop a CD into your car, you know what I mean? You're not gonna pop it in your computer, and you're not gonna burn the songs off the CD onto the computer. You know what I mean? If you needed the MP3s, you would just go to iTunes and buy the MP3s like that. You know what I mean? But the thing about a vinyl is something that you can prop up on your wall. It's decorative. It's cool. Maybe you get a sign. It's just the CD. It's just the physical object of a CD. It just isn't even logical to keep around.
Exactly. And another thing is, right now everyone's on that nostalgia wave, right? And vinyls are, they're so old school, you know what I mean? And even like cassettes are starting to sell more now. You know what and I'm sure CDs will have their time again eventually, because everything just keeps repeating, right? Like, so I feel like that's a lot of it with vinyl and cassettes, right? Where it's just like the whole nostalgia factor and people thinking, it's old school.
And when people say merch and stuff doesn't count, I agree that I kind of agree that it should to an extent count, because I feel like, you know what I mean, if you think Meek Mill's Championships was such a dope album that you went and bought the Championships vinyl to put on your wall. I think that should mean something for the point of a sales. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just
but that's not merch though. Like that's just like when people say merch, they're talking about like the sweaters and stuff like that.
But can't you like bundle that with the album and then sell it?
Yeah, and when they sell it with an album, like honestly, I have no problem with merch.
Yeah, exactly.
And the thing with it is, right, there's always an option now, like especially now that they made that rule change where they changed this a few months ago, maybe a year ago, where there has to be an option to buy the sweater without the merch, right? So if you have the option to buy it without the merch and you choose to buy you have the option to buy it without the CD and you choose to buy it with the CD,
yeah,
right, that's on you. Like you want to buy the physical, so why would it not count? You know what I mean? You're just buying a sweater with it. Right? Like, and merch has been going on since 2010, 2011. Like, when Wayne dropped Carter 4 or Nicki dropped Pink Friday, like, you could buy the CD alone or you could buy a CMB shirt on their website, right? It's just a big deal now.
Yeah. It's just the reality at the end of the day. There is absolutely no reason to buy a CD or a full copy. There's no reason to buy the MP3s with streaming. And there's no reason to buy a CD because of your aux cord and Sirius XM and just all of these things. You know what I mean? So trying to hold but yeah, the idea of a physical full sale, I feel like this needs to change. So I'm glad Billboard kind of did something about that. But yeah, it's just a shame that people really just be twisting these rules like what Nav did. And it's a shame because I rock with Nav, to be honest with you. But I'm just like, I'm not going to lie here and say like that was a completely legit way of, you know, getting the merch out there, you know what I mean? Partnering with V-Lone.
The problem with it, he's just selling his merch, you know what I mean?
But the way he partnered it with V-Lone and the people that were buying it, a lot of people were buying that because they were V-Lone fans that wanted to keep it.
Okay, if you're going to get a Nav at that, okay, Uzi did a V-Loan, Juice WRLD did a V-Loan, Weeknd did a V-Loan. You know, everyone does a V-Loan. NBA Youngboy's album has a V-Loan right now as well. You know what I mean?
Youngboy's got a V-Loan?
Yeah, everybody's dropping with V-Loan.
Okay, wait, is it on the V-Lone site or is it on the Youngboy site?
I'm not sure which site it's on.
Okay.
But yeah, it's V-Lone. And
okay, well, if that's the case and if everybody's doing it.
Yeah. And it's not even just that. Like, even when Wayne dropped Carter 5, he had Chinatown Market, which is a big brand, like, in streetwear, right? He doing his merch. He also had Huron Preston doing his merch, which are also like big brands, right? And what Drake's about to drop with Nike, you know what I mean? It doesn't just like, I don't think we should be like, okay, the merch has this company. Just because the rapper's hot enough to get a cosign like that doesn't mean it shouldn't count. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't know. It just, yeah, I just the whole mentality is just, I feel like a lot of people, because okay, if I at least at the very least if I went and bought Gooba merch, you know what I mean? I was a 6ix9ine fan. I feel like with the V-Lone thing. Okay, I understand. It just feels like, you know, there's a heap of people buying the V-Lone stuff, you know, that they don't give a crap about the artist. It's just so they can buy that and resell.
That's cool, but there's also the option to buy it without the album. And that
okay, yeah. I did forget about that. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's why I think I don't really see an issue.
Yeah. So now I guess an interesting single came out recently. T.I. and Young Thug, you know what I mean? T.I., famous rapper, but more well known for the Expeditiously podcast. No, I'm just joking. But him and Young
T.I.'s a legend. I gotta give it to him.
Oh yeah, undoubtedly. Top 3 of the South.
Yeah.
He linked up with.
I don't know if I'd say top 3 of the South. Maybe top 10 for sure, but I don't know about
maybe not top 3. I think top 5 could be reasonable.
Top 5, yeah, I can see top 5. It's just, you got to think about guys like Scarface that came up before like T.I. and stuff like that. The South goes deep, you know. So like you gotta before T.I. you gotta put Scarface, you gotta put Andre 3K, you gotta put Wayne. But I can see T.I. Yeah, top 5. I can see top 5.
Yeah. But anyway, he linked up with Young Thug on The Ring, and I'm gonna be honest with you. This song was hyped a little bit, I want to say, because I think snippets of them at the music video came out, so people were like, oh my gosh, song with T.I. and Thug. The song came out, just the audio version. It didn't have a video yet. I think the video's coming on the 25th, and I'm just going to be honest, the song was mediocre to me.
And I agree with you on that. I'm actually a really big fan of like T.I. and Thug. They have quite a few songs actually. They did the E remix.
Of
About
course,
the Money was a great song.
About the Money is a classic song. And I felt like him linking with Thug was them trying to, you know, recreate one of those OG hits that they had. You know what I mean?
Yeah, exactly. And if I'm remembering right, T.I. was one of the first people I heard on a song with Thug. I remember Nicki did Danny Glover remix, and Tyga did Hookah with him, but T.I. was one of the first I heard, right? And yeah, I feel like they were trying to recreate something that they did in the past, and I don't think it really worked. It was an okay song, but it just wasn't memorable, and it wasn't something that I was like, okay, I have to add this to my playlist now. I want to hear this on repeat, you know?
Yeah. To be honest, I'm kind of not. Now, I'm not saying T.I. shouldn't. I think he's all welcome to, and I'm always down to hear new T.I. music. You know what I mean? It's not that, but I'm just kind of surprised he did this because I thought with the whole podcast thing he did, and I know he was like he's kind of being more of an activist now. I saw he did the debate with Candace Owens and whatnot.
Yeah, so and that's a beautiful thing. I'm very shout out to T.I. for doing that.
Exactly.
We need more of that. Right? Shout out Killer Mike as well.
We do need more of that. Correct.
Trey does a lot for the community as well. Trey from YBN. Yeah.
Yeah. So but yeah, that's a respectable thing. But generally, when a rapper starts doing that, it almost feels like they're taking their heel off from music. You know what I mean? So I was very surprised that he was not only dropping a song with Thug, but they're actually, you know, dropping it with the video, and they're trying to, you know, put the gas on it and all of that.
I mean, T.I., like, he's always had, since maybe I'd say 2013, he's always been like 1 foot in, 1 foot out type thing, right? Because he has a lot of other ventures. What a lot of people don't know, man, is Travis Scott was signed to T.I. He wasn't signed to Kanye. Every album, including Astroworld, that's come out, I think Jack Boy's, he's off the label now, but every album, including Astroworld, that came out from Travis Scott was under T.I. So T.I. got paid off of it.
So was he technically Grand Hustle?
Yeah. So you can check the credits for Astroworld. It was on Grand Hustle. Days Before Rodeo was Grand Hustle. Rodeo.
Wait. Does that mean can I lump Travis Scott in that group in Hustle Gang with B.O.B. and Iggy Azalea?
Yeah, Young Dro, I guess too.
Young Dro, yeah.
Yeah, like let me just make sure Astroworld. But yeah, he came up with like he brought in T.I. Like a lot of people,
because T.I. was on Rodeo, wasn't he?
He was on Rodeo, but every album since has also been on his label. It's Grand Hustle. Huncho Jack Huncho was on Grand Hustle. Birds in the Trap was on Grand Hustle. Like people like love to give Kanye his credit, Wayne his credit, which they deserve.
Yeah, they deserve. But yeah, people don't really talk about T.I.'s, you know, who T.I. put on.
But listen, he brought B.O.B. had a great run in the early 2000s. He had a lot of great selling songs, a lot of like Airplanes. I'd say is a classic pop rap song. I love that song. Iggy had her run. You know, she was I think the first female rapper since Nicki Minaj that was really popping. Right?
Exactly. And I know you know, Iggy Azalea has become the butt of many jokes, no pun intended. It's like she's you know, a lot of people see her as a meme, you know what I mean, and they to an extent have a reason to, especially because what was she with Sway, and then some guy called and he was like, get that fucking trash off of me.
I saw that. I actually heard that was like a voiceover from somebody else's show that they edited it now. That meme is everywhere now. Like I don't know, like, you know, like, she's the butt of a lot of jokes, but she had her success. Like,
exactly. But even if we go back 2 years, she had that song Cream, Cash Rules Everything Around Me. I think it was like a Wu-Tang reference
remix
song.
But I think was Tyga on that?
Yes, he was.
Oh, okay, I vaguely remember that.
Yeah, but the song did views. You know what I mean? The song did numbers. So when people say, oh, her career's completely gone and stuff like that, no.
I mean, to be fair, though, like we were talking about earlier, like the music isn't really that good. But I gotta give her props for her success. You know what I mean? Like she was, especially being her too. Like she was coming out of Australia. I haven't really heard any other Australian rapper being like successful like that. You know what I mean? So shout out to her. She did her stuff with Grand Hustle. Like I don't even know she dropped on Grand Hustle, but the way I was introduced to her
was from T.I.
Right. So that was someone T.I. broke. And obviously Travis Scott, like We all know Astro fucking World, like 3x Platinum, one of the best selling albums of that year, very successful album. And yeah, I definitely think T.I. deserves some credit. Like, even in, like, 2008, like, the best-selling albums of that year and the most successful artists were Wayne, T.I., and Kanye. And T.I. outsold Kanye that year, you know?
Yeah.
And T.I.'s dropped classics in the 2000s, just like Wayne and Kanye, right? Like, and T.I. had the like Kanye and Wayne, his best years of his career came in the 2000s, early 2010s, right? But he doesn't get remembered in the same effect as Kanye and Wayne, because like every post you see about GOATs is gonna have Kanye or Wayne in it, right? And T.I. is like an afterthought, which, I mean, it's kind of sad, but I feel like T.I. deserves credit.
I agree too, but the reason I do think about that is people forget the I agree. T.I., he should get more respect, and he did put the work in. He had the hits, he had the sales, he had all of that, and I think part of it, and it's part of what Jeezy suffers from too, is the fact that it's just the idea of having a successor is very important. And now we just talked about Travis and Iggy and all of them.
Yeah.
And don't get me
wrong. But everyone gives Travis to Kanye. Anyway.
Exactly.
Like, everyone is so.
But the thing is, it's like, how often do you hear Travis yelling, "Hustle Gang"? You know what I mean? You see what I'm saying? Because when Meek and Wale were signed to Ross, you heard MMG, and you had that Maybach music. Drake was always saying Young Money. Nicki was always saying Young Money.
And even now, like, even on, like, I know it was like 2 years ago, but even on that Lil Baby song, Drake said Weezy F made me, like, on the Dark Lane tapes, he was like, Wayne, Baby Wayne and Tez responsible for all this shit. Like, he always shouts out Wayne.
Exactly.
You know what I mean? So
I'm not saying T.I. didn't have a play in those guys' career, but the thing is, a lot of those guys don't really rep T.I. or Grand Hustle. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And another thing too is, like, I feel like 2008 was the year that hip hop really changed, because, like, okay, let's say Kanye quote unquote killed off gangster rap in 2007 when he outsold Curtis, right?
Yeah.
But it was still somewhat prevalent in 2008. But when Kanye dropped 808s and Heartbreak, and Wayne dropped Dedication 3 and Carter 3, right? The whole soundscape changed, right? Because all three of those projects, Carter 3, Dedication 3, and 808s and Heartbreak, they all had like heavy auto-tune use, where, like, whether it be like Wayne's Lollipop or Kanye's Heartless, right? There's very heavy auto-tune use, and it's more there's a lot more melody-driven songs on those albums, right? Not to say like Carter 3 didn't have hard rapping, right? But the single Lollipop, which is very melody-driven, and the whole mixtape Dedication 3, which had Wayne gargling auto-tune the whole tape. And people talk so much shit about that mixtape when it came out, but those projects really changed the soundscape of music, right? And Wayne and Kanye were able to adapt to that and still deliver music that sounded current after the gangster rap era ended. But I feel like Jeezy, T.I., and, like, to a lesser extent Plies, because Plies wasn't even as hot as the other two at that time, but he was still pretty hot. They weren't able to adjust their sound to that. You get what I'm saying?
And I think, well, another thing with Jeezy too, no, you're 100% right. Jeezy tried. I remember he had a little bit of success with that. He said it was like, R.I.P. I just killed the club.
With 2 Chainz.
Yeah, that was kind of it. But it was like, okay, say you find one way to do a non-gangster rap song. You know what I mean?
He was on my hitter with
your YG. And that's the thing. That's another thing with the successor thing. Jeezy was very big in helping YG put together his first album and help getting him to mainstream success. But at the end of the day, YG was not on Paperwork, I don't think. And YG,
his first album was on paper with Jeezy, but he
was.
I think they had some sort of falling out. I don't know the details. I remember YG speaking about it briefly. But yeah, like,
and that was the same case with Freddie Gibbs. You know what I mean?
Freddie Gibbs. I was gonna say that right now too. Like, Freddie Gibbs is blowing up right now, and no one knew that he came in with, like, the first time I heard him was on that. There's a leaked track with Eminem, Jeezy, and Freddie Gibbs. And it's a real track.
Dude, and I remember, I think, didn't Freddie Gibbs say, like, I didn't even want to do the track with Eminem?
Yeah. Like, bro, that's such a big placement.
Dude, whether you want to, just lay down the verse.
Just do it. Like, I'm going to be honest, that song wasn't even that good, but, like, it's a sick placement, you know? And just to go back to the YG thing, I'm looking at the credits. So My Crazy Life and Still Brazy both dropped on CTE with Jeezy. So he was on paperwork.
Okay.
Yeah. And Blame It on the Streets was on CTE as well. So yeah, it looks like he left CTE and signed directly to Def Jam afterwards.
Yeah, but regardless, even it's just they weren't repping Jeezy that hard.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Yeah. And I also feel like Jeezy and T.I. didn't have as big of an impact on their careers as Wayne had on his people, like Kanye had on his artists, even Rick Ross had on like Meek and Wale. You know, and another thing, Meek was signed to T.I.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Meek
But
didn't
T.I. go to jail at that point?
Yeah. T.I. went to jail, and it was like T.I. was just like, okay, I can't. I can't.
There's not
like,
that
help
much
you.
I can do for you.
Yeah, he's like, just sign with Ross.
Kind of like with Gucci, what Gucci Mane did with Thug and Migos.
Yeah. Gucci's another one too. That he doesn't. I don't know if he gets people on paper, but he does a lot of projects with up and coming rappers.
Migos. I know Migos. I think they were on. I think Thug and they were on paper, but it was just so early in their career at that point. And
yeah.
And it was Gucci went to jail, and he's like, I don't know when I'm getting out of here. So
yeah, y'all figure it out.
So, and I remember, I think Migos wanted to go to 300. I thought, and Thug. I think Thug was already being managed by Birdman at that point.
Yeah.
So he was the artists were in good hands. Which I'm glad it turned out that way, because I remember at one point Gucci, obviously this was Gucci off of drugs, a very, very, very different man than Gucci is now. But didn't Gucci at one point go on Twitter and he was like, oh, 500,000 for, he said $1 million for Waka, 500 for.
Yeah, I vaguely remember that. He used to wild out on Twitter, bro.
Yeah.
Gucci used to go crazy on Twitter.
Yeah, because I remember he was like, it was some along the lines of like $1 million for Waka, 500,000 for Thug, I think, and 250K for Scooter. But obviously that didn't happen. But I'm glad those artists. And I think Gucci's actually taking a little bit more of an executive role now, because he just signed. He signed a heap of people this
compilation
year. With like I think Mulatto was signed to him, and she was on XXL. So.
Is she? I thought Mulatto was down with Trina. No. Mulatto, Trina. Yeah, I'm sure Mulatto. Yeah, she signed to Trina actually.
Oh damn.
Yeah.
I'm just dropping so many bad. Hold on. Mulatto recreated some of rapper Gucci Mane's album cover. So I think she's just heavily inspired, because she also has the Mulap song with him. And was she on Gucci Mane's most recent compilation?
Mulatto signed. Speaking of Mulatto though, like I know it's kind of shifting gears, but when I listen to her, she definitely does remind me of Trina.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. For sure.
Actually, no, she signed directly to RCA. I don't think she's trying to sign with Trina.
Okay.
But she does have a song.
I don't know why. Trina. I don't know why I thought Mulatto was signing Gucci. I think maybe it was just like certain like
collabs and stuff.
Yeah, that made me think that, and the fact
that's
that
probably
Gucci
why I thought Trina
as well. People.
Yeah. But Mulatto is also a great rapper that's coming up right now, and I like, as far as I hate comparing. I know all these like. I hate comparing people, because all these artists are their own artists, but I definitely see Trina influence in Mulatto. When I hear her rap, it's like when I used to hear Trina rap.
Yeah, 110%. And I think, not that I feel like Mulatto's this way, but I know a lot of people are going to see her, and this is going to kind of be, the biggest thing she's going to have to work on. A lot of people are going to see, oh, it's just another girl rapper. She's just going to be a cheaper version of Cardi B, or a cheaper version of the City Girls, or a cheaper version. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So she gotta I feel like once she can really establish those hits, you know what I mean, I feel like she could be out of there. But I feel like she's gonna have a lot of people overlooking her in the beginning.
Yeah, and honestly, like hip hop, like it has space for as many female rappers as can be. You know what I mean? It's been male dominated for far too long. I love seeing these female rappers coming up.
And I think part of it, it's just more market share for them, because hip hop's number one now. So that means you have, a heap of girls of all ages and races listening to the genre. So there's space for those people. You have a space for the Doja Cats, the City Girls.
And let me say this, Nicki made it possible. I get it, like Nicki be flopping, her fans are annoying, whatever, but Nicki made this shit possible, because like I agree. that came out in the 2000s. The only one I can think of is Shauna, who came in Ludacris, dropped one song, and I don't know what happened after it. No female rapper came in the 2000s. Trina came in the 19.
Yeah.
Right? Labels weren't even trying to sign females because they felt like,
oh, it's not gonna sell.
Yeah, it's not gonna sell. Men are the main demographic. Blah blah blah. People wanted their own Nicki.
Yeah, exactly. And that's
a lot of people. That's not debatable. That's facts. Like,
it is facts.
Okay, you can say Lil Kim like started it, cool, broke down that wall. Guess what? In the 2000s, that wall went right back up.
Exactly.
And Nicki broke it down.
Exactly.
Right?
But it's like, I don't even know if they broke the wall. I think they chipped the wall. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The thing is, and I respect all these women, but it's just the fact that Nicki went the furthest in just banging album hit after hit, where it was like so good that people had to respect Nicki Minaj, and then it just made people feel like I felt like one thing I always say about the record labels, you know what I mean? Hey, record labels, you want to throw some money at me? I'm down to take some money. But the thing about the labels, it always feels like the labels are so behind on everything. Yeah, you know what I mean? It wasn't until Nicki did crazy that they're like, maybe we can sign some females. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So yeah, Nicki 110% broke down the door.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter if you think Cardi B's better. Nicki Minaj really pushed.
Cardi might be hotter now, but Nicki made it possible for Cardi. Nicki made it possible for Iggy. Nicki made it possible for City Girls. Nicki made it possible for every female rapper that came after her. You know? Like, Nicki... Like, it was to a point where you can't even call Nicki a female rapper anymore.
No.
Like, she's competing with everybody else. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I don't even... to be honest...
Like, gender didn't even matter anymore. It was like, yo, Nicki's... whose album's better? Nicki's album or this guy's album? You know what I mean? Like, you compare her to anybody because she was putting up, bro. Pink Friday's a great album.
Exactly.
Pink Friday is a classic pop rap album.
Exactly.
One of the best pop rap albums.
Exactly. Yeah. And then you take Queen, which in my opinion, I thought Queen was probably up there, you know, some of her worst, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
But Queen still did what, 200? How many?
It did like 180 and it ended up going platinum. So
exactly,
it did what it did. Yeah.
Exactly. So it's like how many male artists? Like she's still dominating at the end of the day.
Yeah. Even in her quote unquote like flop era, you know what I mean?
She's still got a cult fan base.
And they go crazy too. I fucking hate her fans. I'm gonna be honest about that. I hate her fans, but Nicki as an artist, like no matter what, like obviously Cardi's hotter right now, right? But I'm never like gonna forget what Nicki did for hip hop. Not even just for women, just for hip hop, because she changed the landscape. Right? 100%. Like you want to talk about Kanye changed rap, Wayne changed rap, Nicki changed.
Yeah, and people kind of forget about, you know, Nicki in that conversation.
Yeah.
But no, she 120% deserves that.
Exactly.
But I feel like, you know, I guess speaking on another artist, that this is a group that's had some stuff going down, and this is the YBN crew. So we saw Cordae left the group with, I believe, Namir and Almighty J. Still kind of being there. But I was just going to ask you real quick, kind of before I talk more specifically about Namir's career. How do you feel about the whole Cordae leaving?
Well, I mean, like YBN when they came out, it was like, oh, this big group. But like honestly, after Cordae dropped his solo project, I believe, people stopped associating him with the whole YBN thing to begin with, right? Exactly. So he was always the odd one out because his style of rap was very
stylistically
different.
He did not fit in with those guys at all.
He was not similar to Namir or Almighty J. Almighty J, I don't even know what he's doing now. I haven't heard from him in like 5 ever. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like his style, Cordae's style was very different from everyone else's. And I feel like this is the best move for him as an artist because I think he's better as a solo artist.
I agree.
Yeah.
And the thing, people always want to throw, oh man, once again, this is from an outside perspective and just kind of my life experience, etc., and what I've seen in hip hop. People always want to throw the whole, oh man, Cordae's so unloyal. He's leaving the group, etc., etc.
Yeah.
But here's the thing: when you put on an artist, you know what I mean. And this is anybody who's really put on artists successfully. You know, the bosses. You know what I mean. The Rose, Weezy. Even T.I. They know that you put on the artist, you have them ride for you, but at the end of the day, you know if the artist really blows up even bigger than you did, you expect them to go off and do their own thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's just natural progression. Drake overpassed Wayne, and of course Drake will always pay his respect to Wayne. But Drake's rapping his own thing with OVO. Same with Meek. Meek has surpassed Rick Ross, I think, at this point. So that's why he reps Dream Chasers. And notice there's no salt about it because they still pay respect. And when you put somebody on, you need to be happy to see them, go on and
Succeed,
win.
yeah.
Exactly. And with the whole YBN thing, some people might say that Cordae may have left a little prematurely. But if Cordae still says, hey, shout out Namir, he opened up a lot of opportunities for me. And I think, that should be good. You can't, especially when Cordae already, he doesn't really fit thematically with the group, and there's just a bunch of members that just don't really have anything going on for them, and it doesn't appear like they're gonna have much going on for them, in the near future. You know what I mean? It just doesn't really make sense. With Almighty J, the reality is he never really had too much momentum for himself. The most momentum he had was, I think, he dropped that Let Me Breathe song on World Star. It was after some controversy. I think it was maybe after he had his chain snatched and there was videos about it and people were just on his neck about it. So he dropped the Let Me Breathe song. It was a lukewarm song because of the marketing, but outside of that, he hasn't really had too much going on for him. And YBN Namir, he had, his two really big singles, and I think he was on the song with G-Eazy. But after that, it was, he's, truth be told, he's not, having a lot of luck trying to get momentum right now. If we look at, YBN Namir's past videos, he dropped a song on World Star. Keep in mind, World Star's got 24.2 million subscribers and dropped on the 24th. We're recording this on the 12th, so that's like, what, 2 weeks?
Yeah.
It's only done 500,000 views. You know what I mean? And then,
sorry, which song was this?
This song is called I Remember.
I Remember.
And then, so we have Pop Like This with Yo Gotti. That song I actually do like.
I do too. I actually heard it today.
It's like catchy. It has a clubby, good beat. You know what I mean? It dropped it's approaching 24 hours. It's only done 23,000 views.
Honestly, like, when we discussed what we were going to talk about, the YBN stuff came out. I'm like, all right, let me see what Namir's been dropping. Went on Spotify, I saw YBN Namir featuring Yo Gotti, and I rolled my eyes. I'm like, all right, I know this is going to be some generic-ass trash, but I listened to it, and it was really good. Like, I liked the song. I was pleasantly surprised about it. Like, Namir is making good music again, but the thing is, even going back to what you said, I don't agree with the whole Rick Ross comparison or Wayne comparison because I feel like YBN as a group, they're all the same age and there's not really a certified leader. There's just one guy that I
thought Namir was kind of the certified. I thought that role was basically handed it to Namir, but
because he was the most successful.
And well, in the beginning he was the most successful, and he was basically the person that got to the point where it's like hip hop knew of this YBN moniker. You know what I mean?
I guess, but at the same time, it's like when you think T.I., Rick Ross, Wayne, Kanye, it's like, yo, they have the experience as well. You know what I mean? So maybe he was a leader of the group, but I don't think he was like that level, right? But regardless, like I agree with what you said about like Cordae not fitting stylistically, and Cordae saw that he could have more success if he went individually, right? And like. Namir wasn't really dropping music. Like, it may be part of my ignorance if I'm wrong, but he hasn't really been dropping music since, like, Rubbing Off the Paint. And,
well, he has. It just hasn't done very well, you know. If we
like, has he been dropping, consistently, though?
Let's see. He dropped 2 songs. He dropped 5 months. He dropped every 3 months.
Every 3 months he drops 1 song?
I mean, I'm just looking at his YouTube channel. He might have more that he dropped on World Star, etc. But what I'm trying to say, I'm just trying to say when he has dropped the prom date, because he's been trying to roll out an album, but the issue is whenever they drop a single, it doesn't do too well because we looked at Pop Like This, which is a good song. Maybe it'll pick up a little later. But Two Seer, this is a song with a stacked roster with Offset and G-Eazy. You know what I mean? And after 5 months, only 6.6 on the music video. Yeah. You know what I mean? Talking 7 months ago, 1.7 million views on the music video. So it's just kind of, or for example, he got a song here, he dropped it on. He got a song called "Fuck It Up" with Tyga.
City Girls and Tyga.
Exactly. Yeah. Obviously, a very clubby song. Dropped in July 2019.
Yeah.
4 million views at this point. So, yo, what's good, guys? If you made it to this part of the podcast, I do appreciate that. This is something I'm recording post while I'm editing it too, before I distribute it out to Spotify and all of that. Unfortunately, going through this, there was a little technical difficulty on both of our ends. My mic fortunately started spazzing out, and the co-host Martian also lost, not lost completely, but had some sketchy internet connection, so it threw us off for a couple minutes, like 10 minutes to be honest. So that YBN Namir conversation got cut a little short. So what you're about to hear after this is a little later in the podcast, where basically we go over the different tracks that we listened to that week. So here we go. Tekka's single. Whenever Tekka drops, you know what I mean? People in academics comment section, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're going to be like, oh, he fell off, or, oh, he flopping, or he's done. That type of bullshit, you know what I mean? But Tekka dropped a song called Our Time Intro with the video. This song, in my opinion, is super, super dope, okay? I like Tekka. I think he's very melodic, you know what I mean?
Yeah, very Speaker Knockers influenced.
And this song is, he tried to call it dancehall Tekka. As a West Indian person myself, I think Tekka is actually Jamaican too. I wouldn't quite call this a dancehall song. It had you know those typical reggaeton or dancehall drums that we all know.
It had dancehall elements, I guess.
Exactly, but he was rapping over a tropical sounding beat, which I'm not taking away from the song. The song sounded good. I don't really know if it's dancehall though, but no, it is actually it is a good song, and I really like the song. So salute to you, Tekka, because this song is a banger. And the second single I've been listening to was a song by Trippie Redd, which featured Busta Rhymes.
Oh, yeah. Off the Pegasus album, the first single, I heard that as well.
It's called I Got You. Yeah. I liked the beat. I liked Trippie singing, and Busta Rhymes did a good verse.
Yeah, honestly, when I see Feet Busta Rhymes, I don't know what to expect. You know
what I mean?
And sometimes he raps fast. It's not like the song doesn't require you to rap fast.
Yeah.
It just fucks up the vibe, right? But I think he did good on that song as well.
Because I wasn't necessarily sure how I was like, is he gonna do it kind of like you ever heard that song #Twerk It?
By who?
Busta Rhymes and Nicki.
I think Pharrell was on it. Did he do the beat?
I'm gonna check the production credits right now because I'm actually very curious now that you brought that up.
I vaguely remember this song.
But yeah, it was a very clubby song.
Yeah, it is Pharrell. Pharrell did produce it. Yeah, I remember it.
Okay, but anyway, that was a song where he wasn't necessarily rapping fast, but he's rapping in his Jamaican accent, about booties and whatnot. So I was like, how is he gonna approach this? But it was like a fast verse, but it had like some space between the bars, and it sounded pretty good. But yeah, I was just gonna say salute to Namir.
You mean Tekka?
Actually, I mean Trippie Redd.
Oh fuck! Sorry, we're all behind. The internet lag affected us too.
Yeah. But yeah, the song was good. I have not listened to NBA YoungBoy's project yet.
I thought it was a good project. Yeah.
Okay, and that's gonna say I've only heard, what was it, No Window?
No Window. Yeah, No Window was hard. Wayne killed it. Wayne did his thing.
That was dope.
Yeah, and with 2020 Wayne, it's always like hit or miss, more of a miss. but I'm not I'm unbiased as I can be. I love Wayne, but this year's not been his year. But
come on, your name's Martian. Of course you love Wayne.
But this song was great though. Wayne did his thing. YoungBoy provided a great hook, great verse, everything. It was a great song for not even just them, but just for Louisiana in general. It's a great track. Yeah,
I think a lot of people forget that YoungBoy's from Louisiana.
Yeah. It felt like a torch passing almost, because like Wayne is the face of Louisiana, regardless, right? Like Jay-Z will always be the king of New York. Wayne will always be the face of Louisiana, right? But YoungBoy is the hot guy out. It's like Wayne giving him that cosign, like on a feature. Like I know they've done tours and stuff before together, but like on a feature is beautiful to see.
Yeah. I think I'm happy. You know, young. It's just crazy how hot Young Boy is, and it especially because it's just he's not even a rapper with Billboard hits, really. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but he's still on pace to have a good first week, 110 to 140. That's probably going to be more than Big Sean's 111. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
And yeah,
just,
like honestly, bro, I feel like Young Boy is everything 6ix9ine wants to be because Young Boy, like
110%.
Because Young Boy, like, he doesn't care about the industry at all. He doesn't have no industry friends. He always says that shit too. He doesn't give a fuck about the industry. He doesn't have any industry friends. His album barely had features. Like, this album had 2 features, Wayne and fucking Snoop Dogg. The previous album had only the Baby on it. The album before that only had 1 feature, and it was fucking Quando Rondo.
Yeah.
Right? Like, he doesn't rely on features. He doesn't rely on industry connects to repost his stuff. He doesn't care about any of that stuff. He just drops his music. This is his 3rd album this year alone, right? And they've all sold well. The first album he dropped this year did 110, right?
Yeah.
The second one did 67, right? And then now this one's on pace to 110 to 140. 3 albums in a year, and they're all selling decently.
Yeah.
It's crazy. You
Especially
know what I mean?
because I thought... And the fact he's still going hard because I'm gonna be honest, I thought Young Boy was gonna fall into that syndrome where he's just putting out too much music. You know what I mean? Because I thought the last album, especially because I thought the last album was kind of mid. You know what I mean? So I was like, But it's like he keeps going, and this album, allegedly, from what I'm hearing, is better than ever. I'm gonna have to listen to it. But a lot of people been since it's very obvious, you know, Wayne's not as hot as he used to be. He's still putting out music, but you know, people always want to bring up this passing the torch conversation.
Yeah.
Who do you think is more like Wayne in your eyes, Young Boy or Baby? Because I feel like they both. Oh,
Lil Baby.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think Lil Baby directly sounds like Wayne. I feel like Lil Baby's sound can be compared more to Young Thug than Wayne. Right, even Young Thug, like I feel like Baby's like graduated past those comparisons. You know what I mean?
But I'm talking about I feel like in terms of a run, I think that's why
career trajectory and stuff like that.
Yeah,
I would say Baby. I feel like even like I think NBA's career is very similar to Wayne's because like you know the way Wayne was hopping on everyone's features, he was close with everyone in the industry, he was working with everybody. I don't see that with Young Boy. The only similarity I see with Young Boy is that he drops quite frequently, like Wayne used to do. Yeah. Right.
And I feel like one of the differences too is the fact that it's just Young Boy. Wayne was pretty commercial, I want to say. That's not Young Boy.
Yeah, but he still does the commercial numbers, like even without like being in the front of everything. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
As far as Young Boy, I think Young Boy is very different from Wayne. I feel like I would compare Dirk to Wayne before Young Boy because if you look at Dirk's career, like he's been slowly building a fan base like Wayne did in 2004, 2005 after Cash Money split up. He's been featuring on everybody's tracks lately, all right? Like he was on Drip Harder, he was on a Lil Skies album, he was on Future's album, he was on Uzi's album, he was on everybody's album from late 2018 to 2020. He's been on everybody's album. I think he was on A Boogie's the same album that had Star Tender on it. He was on that. He was on everything that was dropping, the same way Wayne was, right?
Yeah. So I'm just checking. I think not Juice WRLD, Young Boy's highest charting song from. I'm just a quick browse. I think it's
probably the Juice WRLD song, like the Bandit song. Probably I think that hit 7 or something.
Yeah, and then even like Need It. That's a song that, let's be real, I feel like Migos been pumping a heap of money into that song. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Peaked at 62. Outside Today, 31.
He's not really a single artist. His albums, though, sell decently well.
Yeah. And I think his next up is Jump with the Baby.
And
that charted for 4 weeks. I am very, very excited to see what these artists got in store for him. Man, it's gonna be dope. I feel like it's an exciting time for hip hop, and a lot of people. I know. Don't get me wrong. I look at the positives. I know it's COVID, it's all that, but hey, at least we're witnessing, crazy change in hip hop.
Honestly, like shout out Young Boy. He's been consistently dropping albums, and his fans are eating it up. Shout out Dirk, who's finally starting. Like he's been growing organically for years. He's been through so many label issues, whatever. He's jumped label to label. He's finally found a home. I think he's with Geffen now. It looks like he's crossing over commercially. Lil Baby just had Shout out to him. He just had his album go double platinum. It's the first and only album so far this year that went multi-platinum. So that's before Weeknd, that's before Uzi, before anybody else. Lil Baby went double platinum. All right? All genres. So shout out to him for doing that. Hip hop looks beautiful. And 6ix9ine flopped, so like shout out.
Yeah, 6ix9ine flopped. I just want to say shout out Da Baby, who no matter as much as people want to try and pull, oh, your music sounds the same. It's just this is a guy, he knows what he's doing. He keeps making hits. You gotta respect him. Shout out Da Baby, shout out Rod Wave.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that just about wraps it up for this episode. I think you could agree.
Yeah.
All right.
Great episode as always.
Hell yeah. So, yeah, it's been your boy T-Stomp. We're here with Martian. If you made it this far, you better give us a 5 stars on Apple Podcasts.
Yes, sir.
You better hit that like button on YouTube. You better follow us on Twitter. All of that information is provided in the description or, the summary, the bio summary. It's at Hip Hop Dissolved on all media platforms. You can go follow it if you have a spine.
Yes, sir. Run it up on Spotify.
Exactly. But, yeah, I think that's about it, and we're out. Thanks for listening. Peace.